LinkedIn or Twitch or YouTube or Facebook Live, welcome. Mark R. LePage and I will be, again, experimenting with technology here, live streaming across the internet. This is has become our weekly attempt at breaking the internet. So, so here we are, live streaming. We have decided today not to stream to Instagram. We're still trying to figure out the ins and outs. It's a little more difficult than the other platforms. Purposefully so from the Instagram camp, but we should be live right now across LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
I was just posting. Hey, Chris. I was just posting. I'm just trying to get all the different channels on my monitor over here. Yeah. But just for anybody who's joining us for the first time, this is a casual test. So don't judge us on our quality and content right now. We are just playing with things and seeing how they work. And we've been doing it for the last couple of weeks, and it's been a lot of fun. And so I was just before we went live, I was talking to Jeff about I got inspired by Gary Vaynerchuk last night. I follow Gary, and if you don't follow Gary, you should follow Gary. It's a very interesting guy who built himself up from selling wine to having a multi-million-dollar, maybe $1 billion, maybe at this point, digital media company called VaynerMedia, and he is constantly producing content. And last night I was watching a call that he had with Inc. 500 people. I think it's the current video on his YouTube, or probably not current anymore. Last night it was current. And he said to one of them that if you're in B2B, you should be posting 5 to 15 times a day. And if you're going B2C, it should be even more, like almost constant, because you need to get noticed, right? And the other thing that was very interesting of what he said was, he said, quantity trumps quality.
Yeah.
Which sort of hurt a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's dig into that for a second.
Yeah.
Because, and so two things. Number one, if you don't know Gary V, yes, absolutely follow Gary V. Produces tons and tons of content. Word of warning. Some of the language can be not safe for work or home if you
has no governor on his mouth, for sure.
Right. So there's that. But if you can get past that, if you can put that aside, and I suggest you try, it's just a gold mine of information all the time. So there's that. Gary V has always been a proponent of I was going to say churn, and I don't think that's the right word, but producing a lot of content. And the idea of quantity over quality, number one, is not an excuse for what we're doing here. That's not us trying to justify.
That's not the strategy here.
Yeah, right. We're not trying to justify, a pretty rough presentation here. But I think what I really like about that idea, what he's saying now, and I've talked about this in Context and Clarity probably a couple of times. I've talked about the fact that I love TikTok. And for those of you who aren't super familiar with TikTok, it is more than dancing. I see zero dancing on TikTok. They have a fantastic algorithm that within half an hour, if you're not into the dancing, you won't see dancing anymore. You'll see NASA
unless you're into it. Because if you are into it,
right,
that's what it'll tell you.
Yeah, so be it. But one of the things that I've really appreciated about TikTok is it's not about polished. It's not about quote unquote high quality content. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive to always improve your quality, but it's about the value of the content that you're producing. And that's why I think that comment from Gary V is really interesting. The idea of quantity over quality. I guarantee that Gary Vaynerchuk would not excuse anybody that was producing crap.
Quality, I guarantee.
But
Gary Vaynerchuk would not excuse anybody.
Sorry, I hear that. I hear myself talking to myself.
Sorry.
But I don't think he would ever excuse anybody for producing crap, but he would definitely reward people for producing engaging content and engaging with their audience, is how he would say it.
And that's exactly what he said, is that it needs to be valuable to your community, right? To 5 to 15 pieces of content that is pitching your product is going to destroy you.
Right. Very good point.
Right. 5 to 15 pieces of content that is going to make your community better, right? Make the people who are watching your content better at whatever they do, either personally or professionally. That's what he's talking about. Yeah. If anybody, basically he said, if you have a thought, post it. Post it on and he said this, he's been saying this for years, every platform should be different, right? That when you're at somebody's wedding, or you're talking to people in one way, when you're talking to your child in another way, you're talking to your boss in another way, it's the same thing, that you should not be posting the same thing on Facebook as Twitter, as in LinkedIn, because they're different audiences that consume in different ways. And that's hard to do. I'm guilty of that for sure. I'll take something that I post on Twitter and pop it right into Facebook, and it's easy, but it's probably not as effective as if I did it, the way Gary's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, in Context and Clarity Live, maybe a week ago, we talked about making deeper connections, making, the necessity where we are, look around. It's 2020 and what a year. And we're headed very quickly now into 2021. And so my question was, how do we make deeper, more meaningful connections? And I think that I was having this discussion yesterday with a friend about, how do we make those types of connections? And she said, well, I think, and we were talking about social media at the time, and she said, I think one of the keys is transparency and vulnerability. And I think that plays into what Gary is talking about in terms of, if you have a thought, boom, it's out there. How do we tie this into what we're, this theme that we've said we're going to talk about today, in building a brand for an architecture firm? Every single one of you, if you're an architect, somewhere in your mind, you're saying, I want to be the trusted advisor.
Yeah.
When that thought that pops into your mind about how you can make a client's life better, whatever that means, make their living in their home better, make their restaurant post-COVID or during COVID or whatever we call this, run better, safer. When something pops in your mind, you could share that in a 1 minute or less video on lots and lots of different platforms. And I think that helps build you up as trusted advisor. We better do some shout outs real quick before this gets too long. We see Chris on YouTube, and Brian on LinkedIn. We see Ed Shannon and Aisha and Kurt all on Facebook inside the Entree Architect community. And
Brian said he knows Gary from when he was a kid.
I saw that.
He was in high school playing, when he was buying and selling baseball and football cards, which he's still doing crazy. And if you follow him on Twitter, his Twitter feed's almost all sports cards. It's really interesting. Yeah. He's pumping up the market.
Yeah. Maybe it's time to sell.
I have a box of base. My kids laugh at me all the time, because when I was a teenager, when I was going to get married and I was moving out of the house, I took a box of all my special stuff. When you're a kid, you have all this special stuff. Yeah. I put it in a box and I hid it in the attic of my parents' house, and I can't find it.
Oh, wow.
Can't find it. There are baseball cards in there. There's all kinds of stuff in there that, the things that I thought would be valuable as a kid. I thought, oh, this is going to be valuable someday, or this is going to be really meaningful to me. I can't find the darn box.
No, that's no good.
It's not good. Yeah. I have to tear the house down to find it. But I have a box of baseball cards in there from when I was a kid. That is a big box, and a lot of them are in really good shape. So I don't know what's in the box.
Yeah. Yep. My son has grabbed up all my baseball cards, as well as one of his uncles who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. But so he's got 50s era cards from the uncle, and a lot of 70s and 80s era cards from me, and he has some of his own, modern, I suppose. Chris says he's awful at posting on social media, lucky to get 2 to 3 posts a month. Yeah, it can. One of the common criticisms of Gary Vaynerchuk is this idea of posting 5 to 15 pieces of content a day. How do you do that? Well, Gary V has a team and all of this. Of course he does.
Yeah.
But again, think back to the formats that are available to you. Instagram has stories now. LinkedIn has stories now. Facebook has stories now. TikTok is essentially all stories. Yeah. All of those are very short, quick format, a minute, something around a minute. Twitter, you can do I think it's up to 2 minutes now, videos. And of course, those are all video. There's other ways to do it. But think about, when you're thinking about quantity over quality and being able to do this, think about those very short formats. Keep them on brand, and we'll talk more about brand today, but keep them on brand. But how can you do them in very, very bite-sized, we're not talking 500 to 5,000 word blog posts or 15-minute videos.
And the other thing he said, because he gets that question all the time, how do I do it? Right? I don't have a team. And his response is there's 2 different ways to do it. One is to just pick up the camera, to pick up your phone, right? We all have a phone. We all have a camera on our phone. We all have instant access to our communities. Just pick it up and start talking to it and hit post. He does that all day long, right? I'm signed up for his text. He's sending texts to me every day, of a video that he's just posting to his community. My kids think that's funny because they think that I'm friends with Gary V and Gary's texting. I haven't let them on yet and let them know yet that it's not that. But the other thing that he said is do long form. With that video that I was watching was an hour plus long video of him doing Q&A with a dozen or so corporate executives. I guess they were in the marketing positions within big corporations like J&J and companies like that. Yeah. And he was answering questions. And what he said to them is that this call that he was on, and this call that you and I are on right now, is not a good is not the best use of my time. Right? That's what he said. This hour is not the best use of my time. I do it because I really enjoy it, he said. I love doing Q&A. I love connecting with other humans and having this one-on-one. He really likes it, but it's not the best use of his time. He could be doing other things that could actually have a bigger return on it. But what he said is that hour and a half long conversation that's being recorded becomes multiple content posts. Yep. That they take that video and they chop it up. They cut little clips out of it and they post little video clips of it here and there. They pull the transcript from it and they post print on Twitter or wherever else that goes. So he makes that hour-long piece of content, that video that some of us may have just posted automatically wherever it goes. His team takes it and cuts it up into 50 different pieces of content that now they can post all day long.
Yeah. When I first started out on my own, I did a lot of social media consulting. And that was one of the things that I worked on and encouraged my clients to do. What I called it atomizing content. And so my concept was, again, and we've talked about this a number of times, but I don't think the platform matters. I don't think the media matters that much. If you love to write, then write. If you are a photographer, take photographs. If video, whatever it is that you like to do, starting there is the best place to start, wherever there is. But the goal should always be, and this is the atomizing content, which is what Gary's talking about, is how can you take that one thing, that blog post or that that video or whatever it is, and how can you turn that into 10 other pieces of content by doing exactly what Mark just described. That's a game changer, and it may sound like a lot. I described this on Context and Clarity a few months ago. I was doing these I called them my morning shorts, these little videos.
Yeah.
And every morning I was doing a video, and it was a video, and then it was being posted here and here, and a clip of it here and here. I was atomizing it, and all in. And yes, I built a system and worked out the kinks and the bugs and got good at it. But in an hour, I could have this video, and it was splattered all over.
Yeah,
different versions of it, and it'd be on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on YouTube, and everywhere. Everywhere that Instagram as well, everywhere that I was active, it would go, and it took me about an hour to get that out to all the places. Brian says, just listen to the radio. Quality is not meaningful until you get established. Then changing the quality can kill you.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Right. Well, if you build an audience that expects one thing, and then you change it, you have to make that change very carefully.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris says, as a test back in the spring, he posted a few poor architectural tips on architectural tip TikTok videos, and one got 40,000 views. So first of all, congratulations. Congratulations for sticking your toe in the water, because I've yet to do anything on TikTok. And congratulations on the 40,000 views. He says the reach is amazing, especially if you can direct it back to your website, podcasts, etc. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing to think about. Where are you going with it?
Especially if you're an early adopter of technology, right? If there are not a lot of architects on TikTok, I can guarantee you. So if you're one of the first, and there are people looking for information on architecture, and you'll be the one they serve. Right? Because you're the one that's there.
Yep. That's one of the reasons that right now we're streaming live to Twitch.
Right. Exactly. Right. Because there hopefully someday there'll be people on Twitch who are looking for the content that we're creating.
Yep. If you just joined us, again, my name is Jeff Eccles. I'm with Mark LePage today, the founder and CEO of Entree Architect. And we're doing another tech test. Tech test. Whatever the correct phrase is.
A tech test.
Tech test.
Or a test check.
Yeah. It's any variation of that. It's going to be really casual. This is the third week in a row that we've done this on Friday morning. We'll tell you why here in a few minutes. Tell you why we're doing this. But right now we're streaming live to LinkedIn, and Mandy, I see you over there on LinkedIn Live.
Hey, Mandy.
We're streaming to Facebook inside the Entree Architect Community Facebook group. We're streaming to Twitch, and we're also streaming to YouTube on the Entree Architect YouTube channel. We decided not to go back to Instagram Live today because we're still trying to work out some of the idiosyncrasies and figure out how to work within the idiosyncrasies of Instagram. So we're not doing that. But what I'm going to do right now is, we'll see how this works. We're going to try a live call-in number. So
look at that. All right, who's going to be the first? Who's going to be the first? Because if the first person who calls that number, and if it works, you can claim you were the first person to ever call in live on an Entree Architect event or a video or whatever we're calling this thing.
Yeah, whatever this is.
So you want to explain what we're doing here?
Yeah, so there's a live call-in number. It's going to ring on my phone. The best way we figure out how to do it right now is hold the phone up to the microphone. But what we're doing is we're working towards a new show, essentially. Since I see a lot of friendly faces here, I know that most of you are familiar with the daily Context and Clarity Live show that I do inside the Entree Architect Community Facebook group every weekday at 4 p.m. Eastern. I join the community over there, and we pick a topic every day, and we discuss that for an hour. what we're going to do starting in January of 2021 is add a weekly show called Context and Clarity that will stream across all of these platforms that we're testing out right now. And it's the idea is we'll be able to take one of these context and clarity topics that we do during the week. We'll take one that's really popular, one that we think needs more discussion, and we'll make that the weekly topic. We'll be able to invite a guest, an expert perhaps on whatever the topic is. Just like Mark and I are here now, I can have a conversation with that expert, but you can be a part of the conversation, whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, wherever you are. Just like we do Context and Clarity right now inside the Facebook group, we can meet architects where they are, whatever platform they're on. Everybody can join the conversation, and we can dive even deeper into one topic every single week. So it's an expansion of what we're doing right now inside the Facebook group and in the Context and Clarity every day at 4 p.m. Eastern. So that's the reason for our experimentation here is we're trying to work out all the bugs. We're trying to figure the tech out so that we can launch this in January and really take Context and Clarity to a whole nother level and help even broader community of architects across the world. So that's why we're doing what we're doing right now. So if you're up for it, there's the live call-in number that should ring straight to my phone here, and we'll see how it works and try to get it here on the live stream. So give that a shot. Chris says architects always make the mistake of self-promotion in their post.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I talk about this a lot, right? And a lot of you have heard this before. Here we are in 2020, and the idea was I was going to up my speaking gigs this year, and the keynote that I was going to be delivering theoretically all across the country was a talk called Ego versus Empathy: How the Stories You Tell Are Making You a Commodity. 2020 happened, and I've delivered it, a few different versions of it, about 3 or 4 times this year. But the basis of it is really that, and this is not just architects. This is directed squarely at all professional services. Because if you think about what an architect is, what an attorney is, what an accountant, a doctor, all of you, you're the experts. You are the professionals. Many of you are licensed in multiple states, some of you, right? And so it's completely natural for someone to say, well, I'm the expert, I'm the professional, this is what I bring, right? That comes from a point of ego. And I don't mean that in terms of egotistical or egomaniacal, but it's what you think matters. And the problem is that prospective client that you're trying to reach, whether you know them or not, if they're on was it TikTok or LinkedIn or wherever they are, what they're really doing, they filter everything through this lens. It's called what's in it for me. They don't want to know what you think is important. They want you to address what they think is important. And that's the empathy part. So starting from a point of empathy will always allow you to connect better than starting from a point of ego. So it's human nature as a professional, as an expert, to start from that point of ego, what matters to you, what you think matters. But if you can flip that around, don't do the self-promotion, right? Don't start out talking about yourself. Start out answering questions that you know that your clients have. Go through your emails. Open up Outlook or Gmail or whatever you use today and do a search for how do I, or how does this work? Or, some question, some form of a question. Just do a search and see all the questions that have ever come up from clients, from contractors, from prospective clients. Use that as the basis for your social media. do that 1-minute video. Hey, I got this question via email and it goes like this. How do I do this? Answer that question. That's a great way to do bite-sized content on social media. Let's see. Kurt says break out the TikTok Starkitects.
First mover advantage.
There you go. Pradeep, welcome. Glad you're joining us via LinkedIn today. And let's see.
Chris was saying that it would be cool to have all the comments from all the different platforms in one place where we can see them, where they can, everybody can see them. I wonder, does Restream let you stream
I
the
think,
comments live?
Yeah, I think there's a way to do that. I don't know what it is right now. Like we said, we're still figuring this thing out.
We'll figure that out. That's a good idea, Chris.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think there's a way to put that right on the screen, and so that'll be
fun.
That'll be a goal for January. Definitely. Khaled, I hope I pronounced your name properly. If I ever mispronounce your name, first of all, it's never on purpose. But if I ever mispronounce your name, just drop the proper pronunciation in the comments, right, and I'll get it right. It may take me a few tries, but we'll get there. Chris says his 2021 goal is to write an ebook for clients about how to get started. Each chapter will be a podcast episode. Each podcast episode segmented down into social media posts. Now just to follow through. Okay, that's a great idea. I've got a tip for you. Record the podcast episode first, and then get a tool like otter.ai or
Temi. I think Temi is it. You're going to transcribe. Is that what you're?
Yeah. Yep. Get a good transcription tool and let it transcribe that for you. So do the voice first, then let it transcribe it. Now all of a sudden you've got all the text right there. You can edit it up, you can cut it and paste it and all those things. I actually do that with a lot of my presentations because I'm building something similar to what you're talking about right now.
Temi.com is another good one I've used. TEMI is another transcribing that's all computer generated, and it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I use Otter, and it's incredibly accurate. And somebody, I thought I had it saved. Somebody recommended, let me see. I think it's called Descript.
Yeah, I've heard something about that as well.
Yeah, I thought I had it saved. I don't see where it is, but what they were telling me was there's some other nice little bells and whistles built into it, but it was the most accurate they had ever seen. And it also has video editing capabilities as well. So it edits the video to the voice, which is super interesting.
Chris, I'll give you another tip. I see your thanks there. You're welcome. The other thing I would say is definitely plan what you're doing, but break it up into really small of a chunk as you can in order to be able to accomplish it. Right. So if your podcast, if you're thinking the podcasts are going to be weekly, make sure they're easy to do. Right. You want to make sure that it's as simple as possible because you have to fit it into the rest of your life. And those little small victories are what's going to get you there. Right. As soon as life gets complicated, and then it's hard to follow through with it. I have similar big ideas like that. And then they get so overwhelming that you can't even start because you're like, oh my goodness, that's a giant idea. Break it down into these little tiny pieces and then commit to those tiny pieces. Write down the big plan and put it away so you have it. But then commit to the little piece and just do that little piece over and over and over again until it becomes a habit. Then add the next piece to it, and then add the next piece to it. Get used to the little easy piece first so it can build into your life, and then add to it and add to it and add to it until you get to the big idea.
Yeah. So Chris says he's been doing the podcast since March. What's Chris, post the name of your podcast so people can look it up. People can subscribe to it. You're talking about.
I may have seen your podcast, Chris, and I think I may already be subscribed to it. I
Yeah.
think I listened to a
You were,
couple of episodes. I think you posted somewhere about it, and I saw it. Maybe LinkedIn.
could be. You were talking about forming habits. If anybody needs a book about habits, check out Atomic Habits. Excellent book, good read. It's one of the best I've ever run across in terms of both breaking or developing new habits.
That's James
And
Clear, right?
yeah, yeah. And as you were talking, as you were giving that piece of advice to Chris, one of the things that also popped into my head was a book that I read just maybe 2 months ago now, called Where Great Ideas, Where Good Ideas Come From. It's all about innovation. It's the I think it's called The History of Innovation or something like that. But you were talking about, when you were talking about the breaking it down into bite-sized pieces, what it reminded me of from here it is, Where Good Ideas. Uh-oh. I didn't want to do that. Steve Johnson, Where Good Ideas Come From, The Natural History of Innovation. When he's talking,
The podcast.
what's that?
It's a podcast.
No, it's a book. It's
It's
a
a
book
book.
called
Got it.
Where Good Ideas Come From. Yeah.
Okay.
When he's talking through, and it really is the history of innovations. He goes way back, and comes all the way up to modern times. He talks about the fact that most of the things that we think of as these huge innovations are not actually, these giant leaps.
Right.
Most of the time, what happens is it's iteration on iteration on iteration on iteration. There's several concepts in there, but one of the concepts is the idea of what is it? Close adjacencies or something like that. So the idea that you and I are talking about something and it gets filed away in the memory banks, and then a year from now, maybe we talk to somebody on some completely unrelated, but all of a sudden there's some link, the adjacent
Yes.
possible. That's what it is. There's some link between what we talked about today and what the conversation a year from now, and you add those things together. It's almost like improv comedy. Yes, and
Yeah.
take this one, take that one, combine, and all of a sudden we're iterating and we're moving in the direction of innovation. And he said many times the problem with the giant leaps is, and this is how it kind of relates to what you said before, was that giant leap is often not sustainable. Right? It doesn't basically, in architectural terms, it doesn't have the foundation built below it to support it. And so most of those giant leap sort of innovations die. But the adjacent possibles and the things like that are built through iteration, they're building a foundation and they eventually get to that point. And I thought that was super interesting. It's a really good book. It's kind of, it's not that long. It's not that long, but
What's the name of it?
It's Where Good Ideas Come From, The Natural History of Innovation by Stephen Johnson. Stephen with a V.
It's important to write down all those ideas, right? Mm-hmm. Because some of those, when you have that giant idea, write it down. Write down and clarify it and put it into a story and just document it, right? Because big ideas later in your life start to make connections with other big ideas that you have.
Yep, that's in the book too.
When I was a kid or a young architect, I would go to lunch, and what I would do at lunch is I would dream about what my life is going to be like in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, what it is today, right? That's what I would dream about when I was a 20-year-old. I would dream about 30 years from now, when I'm 50, what does my life look? My life doesn't look anything like what I dreamed about, but tons and tons of those ideas, when I go back to those journals, which were just little ideas, right? I wasn't doing big formal journals. They were just idea books. I have boxes and boxes of ideas. Those ideas today are solidifying architect is today and what Gable Media is today and what Gable Technologies will be tomorrow. Gable Technologies and the possibilities of what Entre Architect and Gable Media can become all have their seeds in those little ideas as a 20-year-old. And so when you have that big idea, write it down and then file it away. And just don't even worry about where you don't even worry about, having it accessible. Just write it down, because once you write it down, it becomes part of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't even have to look at that anymore. I have boxes that I don't have to look at, but I know those ideas are there. I remember writing them. Right. And it happens to me all the time, where a new idea comes on cable media, and where Entre Architect is today is the result of those little tiny ideas that happened in the past. And the ideas that I had for my architecture firm are those big ideas that I have for Gable Technologies, that are not the same ideas, but clearly
That's where they came from.
are of those seeds that I planted when I was a 20-year-old. Super exciting.
Yeah. That's all. That's in that book too. Where good ideas come from. He talks a lot about, he follows the life and innovation of Darwin. And there's this idea, a lot of people see, they'll see someone and go, oh, that person's an overnight success, and then there's that common response to that. Yeah. Overnight success, 10 years in the making. And so you look at someone like Darwin or some of these scientists. He talks about several scientists, but this idea, oh, well, he went to the Galapagos Islands and discovered this. He went to the Galapagos Islands. He spent a lot of time there and he saw a lot of things, but it was decades before he figured out what he had seen, and before he came up with these ideas that we now know. And all of those were written down. Yeah. Just like you're saying.
Right. They go away if you don't write them down.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Chris wants to know if anyone else is out there. So let's do it.
Chris.
Yeah. Yeah. Any Chris or anybody, just call us. And let's do a check-in. Who's out there? Who's out there on YouTube? Who's out there on Facebook? Who's out there on Twitch? We haven't gotten our Twitch. We haven't gotten our usual Twitch offer yet to be famous.
I feel neglected from bigbrands.com or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think we've fallen out of favor maybe on Twitch.
We can't even attract the spammers.
Yeah. Wherever you are right now, just say hi. Even if you have before, let's just do a check and see who's out there.
Kurt had a great idea about Twitch. He said Twitch, I think, could be a place where architects could build a following just by showing them how they draw.
Yeah.
Either sketching or digitally. I have an artist friend who has been doing that for years already. Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, people love to watch sketch. People think sketching is architect's superpower, right? Mm-hmm. When you sketch in front of somebody, right, whether digitally or on a piece of paper, and your pen becomes something that they can see and understand, they think it's magic. Right? We think it's easy because we're good at it.
Yeah.
But they think it's magic. You can build an entire platform of you just sketching. There are plenty out there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. What's interesting to me about that is that yesterday I was looking for something on YouTube, and YouTube directed me to Eric Reinholdt's channel, 30 by 40, and it directed me right to his video about how to sketch.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't know if any of you have seen Eric Reinholdt's videos, but they're so well produced. He does a fantastic job, but I don't know, it's a 10-minute video on sketching. And it's for architects, of course. That's Eric's audience, but number one, fantastic video, but it had something like, I don't remember exactly. I don't want to over exaggerate, but it had thousands and thousands of views on it. So there's a lot of people
probably
interested.
Hundreds of thousands would be my guess. He has hundreds of thousands of views on his videos. He's actually an example of quality over quantity, because he posts about once a month on average.
Correct.
But he does super high quality, cinematic quality videos. And that's the other side of it, right? If you post high quality, you can get those, you can get the views as well and the exposure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But the paradox is you can do super high quality or super low quality. And if you're not delivering any value,
The
if
value.
you're not
Yeah.
producing anything that your audience cares about, it's gonna bomb either way.
Right.
And on the other hand, you could deliver a lot of value in a low quality, quote unquote, low quality video or a high quality video, and it's going to do great. And that's the real litmus test, is the value that you're delivering. I see Kay Townsend out there. Hi, Kay. How are you?
Oh, and by the
One of
way,
these days.
30 by 40 is a member of the Gable Media Network. So you can go to gablemedia.com and find his videos there.
Yeah. And so some that are watching this or will watch this don't know what you're talking about when you say Gable Media. So what are you talking about, Mark?
Just go to gablemedia.com and look.
It's GABL Media.
GABLmedia.com. It's a multimedia network built for AEC, the AEC community. And so it's podcasts and video channels. It's a new media company that Demetrius Lynch, who is the creator of Spaces podcast, he and I partnered and built this, launched it in January, and it is on target to become. Right now, it is currently the largest, most engaged media network on the planet for AEC community, and we're planning on making it the only media network on the planet for AEC community. We plan on building it into the media company that we all want. It architects and engineers and construction people, and so lots of great content over there. You're over there. Build Your Brand podcast is a network partner. Entree Architect, Spaces podcast, Archispeak is there. Troxel, Evan Troxel's new podcast, which isn't, and Practice Disrupted with Evelyn Lee and Janine Chastain. Top quality audio, top quality storytelling. We're building 3 new podcasts right now. They're in the works. Season 2 is coming out for Build Your Brand. And so lots of things going on there at gablemedia.com.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll give a shout out. Some of you know that the semester's over. I've been teaching a pro practice class in an MARC program. And we had Janine Chastain and Evelyn Lee, the co-host of Practice Disrupted, as our guest speakers in one of our classes. And the students, I made an assignment after having a conversation, and that's how we did our guest speakers this year. It was conversations. It wasn't presentations. And so after having a conversation with Evelyn and Janine, the assignment was, okay, go out and find one of the episodes of Practice Disrupted and write about it in your journal. And several of the students didn't stop at one episode. They consumed more.
I really believe with all my heart that Practice Disrupted and Troxel should be listening for architectures. Yeah. It should be in every architecture program because Evelyn and Janine are talking about the future of architectural practice, right? Both traditional practice as well as what can we do as architects be practice? How do we disrupt this profession we're in, right? Because it's disrupt it or lose it. And that's the focus, is how do we continue to be relevant? How do we continue to be valuable? How do we continue to provide value as architects into the future as technology takes over, as other industries start to try to encroach in our territory? That's what they're talking about. It should be part of listening for every architecture student. And Troxel, Evan is talking with the innovators of the architecture industry, of the technology that's being developed today that will be the future of how architecture is practiced with technology in the future. They're talking about what's happening today in long format conversations of talking about technology. And so 2 podcasts that you should be listening to every episode, one of those 2 podcasts. And every architecture student should be listening to that, because that's the future. They're talking about the future of our profession.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're quickly approaching the top of the hour, which is very easy for us to do. So why don't we we really quickly, and if anybody is uh, game, the call-in number is at the bottom of the screen. So give us a call, and we'll see if we can get it on the air. But why don't we quickly talk about build your brand? Because it's something that we've introduced this week. It's a special offering for the holidays, essentially, and there's 2 versions of it. So
I'm excited, super excited about Build Your Brand. We've been working on it for a long time. Build Your Brand workshop. Somebody's calling. Build Your Brand workshop we did a few months ago. We took all of the lessons, the framework that Jeff had developed in that program, and turned it into an on-demand course. And so Jeff mentioned 2 versions. There's a full premium version of it, and there's a free version of it.
Yep.
And so
Build Your Brand Basics and Build Your Brand Course.
And we'll get it. We'll show you some of that in a minute. I want to see who's on the call.
All right. Hello, who's on the call?
Hey, Jeff and Mark, it's Chris here. I couldn't let the hour go by without someone testing out.
You're the man, Chris.
we appreciate that, Chris. Mark, can you hear him?
Put
okay?
it closer to the mic. I can hear him, but it's not loud enough.
Let me also turn it up. All right, we've got to figure out.
I can also hear Jeff very well, but Mark, you're coming in muffled.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to find some technology to streamline this a little bit, make this a little bit
I'm
better.
sure there's software that will let us do what we want to do. But Chris, thank you very much for that test, because that allows me to be able to to test whether I can hear the caller, right, and whether the caller can hear me.
It's the least I can do for all the stuff that you guys are doing for all the architects out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Yeah. If no one has been able to tell this yet, I mean, this is our passion. So we enjoy doing this. So give a quick plug, Chris. Tell us your podcast is Home Design Academy. And
I direct that podcast towards homeowners and not architects. So directing the podcast towards, the average homeowner that knows nothing about design or construction, and, sort of walking them through the process.
Very good. And where, understanding that we have an audience of architects primarily here, but if there are certainly architects that are part of this community that would like to help educate their clients and prospective clients. So where can they find Home Design Academy? Are you everywhere? Are you Apple Podcasts? Home Design
Academy is the podcast is everywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
It's on all the players. And there's stuff for architects in there as well, because I do talk a lot about energy efficiency and stuff like that, and best practices and details and stuff like that as well. So that's that. And my firm is N3 Architecture. I'm out of Massachusetts and just formed this year. And you guys, have been a big help to me.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on forming, and we're looking forward to seeing where you go with it in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to quickly say that.
Go ahead.
That I applaud you for doing content for your clients, because many times our community complain about the fact that our clients don't know what we do. They don't understand the value that we bring to the world, right? They just think we do pretty drawings. And the only way that they're going to learn what we do is if each one of us individually goes out and tells the story of what, right? And so by you doing the Home Design Academy, you are contributing to fixing that problem in our profession. And the AIAs know it. They can't do it. They've tried multiple times with these marketing campaigns that they do. That's not going to work. Some big, expensive marketing campaign is not going to work. It's going to be every single individually telling our individual stories about what we do, how we do it, and how we bring value to the world. And that's exactly what you're doing, Chris, with Home Design Academy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've never seen any client, whether it's a commercial client or a residential client or an academic client, no one has ever, on the client side looked at the AIA website or their resources. So, they're never going to reach the clients, just like you just said.
Right, right. Yeah, and it's not truthfully, in my opinion, it's not their job. It's our job.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think, since we brought up the AIA marketing campaigns, and this is in no way a slam on AIA. I mean, they're, like Mark said, they've tried a lot of things. Their constituents, their members are always screaming, and non-members are screaming, why doesn't AIA do more? But if we really think about how AIA is positioned, right, as the Association for Architects, and the idea of having AIA advocate for architects and these marketing campaigns, it falls directly into that trap that I was talking about before. It's only going to, if it's coming from AIA as an advocate for architects, it almost necessarily comes out from a point of ego, from a point of, this is what architects think matters. And I can talk about this all day. I can talk about the neuroscience behind, I mean, I actually have, some of you have seen this before. I've got the brain right here.
Have brain will travel.
Have brain will travel. TSA loves it. Stories for another
brain in your bag.
Yeah, but it just based on neuroscience, it doesn't work. It flies in the face of the way that your client's brain wants to receive the information. So everybody out there, and again, this is not a slam on AIA. This is not an argument to any of you, but figure out what you can do, just like Chris is doing with his podcast, Home Design Academy. Figure out how you can demonstrate the value of an architect by answering the questions that your clients have. And it doesn't, Chris's podcast obviously is directed towards homeowners. Who's your client, right? If it's the facilities manager at a hospital group, or at a university, or the superintendent of a school system, what are their questions? What are their needs? What are the things that they need to have answered? Answer those questions. That'll get you a lot further than trying to explain. This is, so Chris knows this. We've talked about it, context and clarity yesterday, but it'll get you a lot further than trying to explain whether you have 3 or 7 or 9 phases in your design services, right? Answer the questions. That's the key.
Yeah. Another interesting idea. My friend Sherry Scott, Springhouse Architects, she just announced something called Springhouse Collaborative, and she put together a Facebook community, a private Facebook community, a private Facebook group, and promoted it to homeowners to come be part of this group. I'm going to be talking about residential architecture and answering questions. And she's building a community, and they're not all customers, they're not all clients. It's a community for people who are interested in residential architecture. And so that's the way Sherry's.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think, when we all do those little things, and we don't all have to do a podcast or a Facebook community, it's a lot of work, right? But if we just do our part, right? If we just clarify our message through branding, which is why we've built the Build Your Brand course and the free series, because that brand, that message, that story that we're teaching you in that course is what you need to be spreading, right? That story is what we're talking about on the podcast. That's what Sherry will talk about in her group. That's what you can write in your proposals and on your websites. That story of what architects do and how we can help our customers and our clients from their point of view. And so, the branding is where it all starts. That's why we built the Build Your Brand course.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess maybe a last thought on that is Sherry's example is a great one. And I know there are a couple of others out there that do something similar, but sometimes I see resistance. Well, what if my competitors' clients are part of my community, or what if they're part of my community and they hire my competitors? That's I don't know if that literally falls into the idea of the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset, but that's a mindset that is ultimately going to destroy you, right? We've got to be able to have this mindset. If you want, what's the cliche? The rising tide lifts all boats, or whatever it is. That's the mindset that we've got to have. Back to the point earlier about you elevating the profession, but also the fact that one of the most common mantras, the most common complaints is people don't understand the value of an architect. People don't understand what architects do. They don't understand us. Some version of that. AIA will never be able to fix that. Like Mark said, I agree with Mark. I don't think it's AIA's job. One architect is never going to be able to fix that. You can't pick and choose who you work with in order to fix that. We've got to spread that out. We've got to get everybody on board in trying to fix that. So that's again, I applaud what you're doing there, Chris, and keep it up. Keep doing it.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you guys though. You're doing so much to help the industry. So glad I could help with this little test on the call-in, and hopefully I can see you guys tonight. I might be a little bit late joining the party, but I probably will hop on at some point.
Great.
That's right.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll see you there. Thanks for calling, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Great. All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye now. All right. So
that worked.
That's not terrible.
I heard him loud and clear on my side, which means everybody did. So that's good. So that low tech version of the high tech idea worked.
Yeah. Yep. That's our minimal viable product right there.
Yes. Yeah. The concept works. We had a good conversation too. Thanks, Chris, for calling in.
Yeah.
Do you want to share your screen and show people the brand basics, and then maybe we can even, I know we're over our time here, but it's never stopped us in the past. Do you want to maybe even jump into the course itself and show them what it looks like on the inside?
Yeah. Let me let's see. Let me get inside. Let me log in here real quickly. I'll do this in a couple different windows here. So what Mark and I are talking about is right now it's a brand new offering this week. We just launched it this week. And one is called Brand Basics, Build Your Brand Basics, which is free. It's a three video guide that that'll walk you through the basics of the Build Your Brand structure, the Build Your Brand framework. Thank you. And the other is the Build Your Brand course, which is a paid. And there's a cost to it, but there is it's the Build Your Brand course, and it is a on demand. So join the course, watch the videos at your own pace, fill out the workbook at your own pace, and they're both the basics starts with three fundamental pillars, I suppose, of the framework. And then again, that's free. You can go through that. You can learn the basics. If you want to upgrade from there, you can go to the course, go through all the videos, and actually go step by step through building a brand for your architecture firm. And what I want to say about building a brand for your architecture firm is that there are a lot of branding agencies out there, right? Somebody built Coca-Cola, somebody built Southwest Airlines, somebody built Ford Motor Company, a bunch of somebody's over a long period of time. You can build a brand for your architecture firm, but it's got to be different, right? These companies, the Fords, the Coca-Cola, the Amazon, whoever it is, huge budgets, of course, huge resources, of course. They're continually pumping this in. It's generally, those examples at least are business to consumer. An architecture firm, any professional services firm is different. You don't have the resources. You don't have the abilities that they have. You have to have a brand that's going to move the needle for your firm. You have to. That's a fundamental difference. And so, again, I'm talking and trying to get there at the same time. But
yeah, I could talk a little bit. The Build Your Brand Basics, the free version, there's no cost, there's no catch, there's not even an email. We're not even asking for your email. We put it out there because it's important, right? We were just talking about it with Chris, who said he just posted on YouTube that he's started the courses, the free series, and he's likely to buy the course. Build Your Brand Basics is entrearchitect.com/brand basics, gets you to the free version of it. He took the 3 most important modules, and we did 3 videos of each one. How do I identify your ideal client? Then how do you communicate with your potential target ideal client without talking about yourself, right? Your about page isn't about you. That's number 2. That's the second video. And the third video is how to attract your ideal clients. So who are your ideal clients? How do you communicate to your ideal clients? And then how do you attract them, right? How do you weed out the people that you don't want, right? Because if you're getting a lot of tire kickers, it's because you're attracting tire kickers, right? If you're getting a lot of clients who you don't want, right? A lot of inquiries, wasting a lot of time with clients you don't want, it's because you're telling the story that's attracting them. And so if there's a specific market that you want, if you have an ideal client, which we help you identify in the course, it's actually in the free version as well. Once you know who that ideal client is, then you need to be able to tell a story, right? Through the words that you post on your website, through the stories that you tell your clients, through the stories that your employees understand about who you are and how they communicate, right? That story needs to be consistent. And that story is what attracts and resonates with the client that you want. If you're telling the right story that's resonating, that's emotionally connecting with the ideal client, those ideal clients will find you. And when they find you, they're like, okay, I found you. I finally found you. Where do I sign up? That's the goal, right? And at the same time, you want the people that you don't want to very quickly recognize this is not where I belong, because this doesn't resonate with me. I'm not going to get free drawings, right? I don't get the permit set that they're looking for, because that's not the story we're telling. We don't do quick permit sets, right? If that's not what you do. If it is you do that, you need to build your brand around that, right? And so we're in the 3 courses, the Build Your Brand Basics at entrearchitect.com/brand basics gives you the basics, gives you the basic 3 most important foundation points of the big course. And then if you want to go deeper, you can go deeper and jump into the course at entrearchitect.com/brand course. It's a $495 course, which is super cheap for what we've provided for you. And right now we've launched it with $100 savings. So you can get it right now for $395. And not only does that get you the course, it supports what we're doing, right? I said this last week, that when you buy something from Entre Architect, it's not making Jeff and me rich. It's helping us build this community. So if you appreciate this community and what we're doing, we can't do this for free. We need to build revenue, right? So this is doing 2 things. This is providing tremendous value to you, but it's also supporting Entre Architect in what we do. And so you should go check out entrearchitect.com/brand course. Learn all about the course there, and then and you should buy it, and you should go through it, and you should be able to tell the story of what you do very clearly and very consistently.
Yeah, this is coming from us, right? This is coming from me, the guy that recorded all these videos, and Mark, that's with me through, the Build Your Brand workshop, which we did earlier this year, and all of these journeys. So there's that, but I really think that this is one of the best things that you can do to set your firm up for success in 2021. I'm trying to share my screen, and it appears I click the screen and I hit share, but I don't see a change anywhere.
No, I'm not seeing your screen. Do you want me to see if I can share my screen?
Yeah.
All right, let me just make sure that we have what we're looking for here.
If not, I'll just kind of describe it, I guess. I hit share, but then I still get the little red slash through, so I don't know what the difference is.
All right. Let's see what happens here. Share screen. All right, I'm sharing, but I think you have to actually.
Yeah, it popped up. Hang on. There we go. Click that.
There we go.
Oh, nice.
You want to bump up that because here you go. Keep moving to the next one. There we go. So this is the Build Your Brand Basics at entrearchitect.com/brand basics. This is the free version, the 3 module training program. And these are 3 videos. Like I said, no cost, no email, nothing. Usually we put this behind an email, gate where, we ask you to give us your email so we know that you're interested in it. And then that way we can just communicate with you. And that's why we do that with the emails. It's just so we're not talking to people that aren't interested in what we're doing. But this one, Jeff and I talked about it, and this is so important to us that we just want to make it available. And so you just go to Brand Basics, entrearchitect.com/brand basics, and they're right here. They're active, ready to roll. So so they're there and ready to roll. So that's the free version. If you want to go further, you can click the link here at the bottom of that page. It'll take you to the landing page for the course, and you can learn all about the course. And so everything that you might want to know about the course, about what's in it and how it works, or these 12 questions that we're going to answer in the 12 steps. You can do this on your own time. It's built to be a 30-day program. The workshop was a 30-day program, but it's on demand. So if you want to do it in 30 weeks, you can just schedule it to do it in 30 weeks. And you can do that. And then talks about what you get. You get 20 video training sessions. You get a comprehensive 28-page workbook that takes the framework and breaks it all down so it helps you go through the process. So you watch the video, you go to the workbook, you do the homework. Jeff assigns you homework. This isn't going to just be something you watch the videos and then you go, try to absorb it. We want you to actually build a brand. So this process is you watch the video, you go and do the work, you go do the task in the workbook. When you're done with that workbook, it becomes your brand system. It becomes the system that you reference forever on, right? This is the story that we're going to tell in our marketing, in our proposals, in our website. And then there's also a Slack member forum. So everybody who joins the course gets access to a private Slack channel inside the membership Slack group, which means you also have access to the entire membership Slack group. Whether you're a member or not, you have access to the Slack group as a member of this when you buy this course. So that's sort of a bonus. You get access to this private Slack channel that's only people who are taking the course, but you have access to everything else that's going on in there as well. And then Jeff put together 2 bonus sessions. He shares his own workflow, uses himself as an example, going through the Build Your Brand process, and breaks down his website wireframe, for his own ideal client. So he does that in 2 bonus sessions. And so there's the manual. You get to put together a manual. And then, so let me just jump into the course itself. So when you sign up, this is where you would end up. And so it starts off with a welcome video, and I'm not going to go through this entire thing, but this is what it looks like. This is, once you pay, this is the page that you go to. And so this is where you download the workbook. It's a PDF that you're going to use throughout the process. And then these are the videos. There's 22, including the bonus videos. You click the lesson, takes you to a video. You watch the video, then you do the homework. Once you finish the homework, you go back to lesson 2. You watch the next video, you do the homework. All right. So that's the way it works. And you go through that process. It's 12 steps in 20 videos. And we have the Slack channel to help you hold yourself accountable. Right? That's what the Slack channel is there for. You can post your plan there. You can post your schedule and say, okay, I plan on doing this once a week, right, for the next 20 weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm going to post my homework in that Slack channel so other members can see. You can encourage other members to complete the homework. And Jeff and I are part of that channel as well. Yep. So if you have questions along the way, we're in there to answer those questions. And so you're getting all of the benefits of taking the workshop, which was $5,000, by the way. You get all the advantages. The framework is the same, right? It's not Jeff and I working with you one-on-one like we were in the workshop. It's not a mastermind like we had in the workshop. The workshop was literally Jeff and I working one-on-one with the people in the group. This is self-guided. You get all the content, but you still get access through the Slack group with us being in that group. And so you can jump on it right now and grab it for $395, $100 off until December 29th. December 29th, it goes to full price at $495. This is, like I said, this is 10% of what the workshop cost. And so grab it while you can, less than 10% at $395. Also, the other option is working directly with Jeff. You can buy the Build Your Brand course plus coaching. Jeff will work with you in four 60-minute coaching sessions. You just schedule it with Jeff directly. He'll work with you for an hour, 4 times, and he will work with you through that process. So if you need that additional accountability, Jeff is offering that for an additional $500, which is, again, ridiculously low price. His time is worth much more than that. So he's providing 4 60-minute sessions with him directly, one-on-one, for $500. And so definitely grab that while you can. And then there's a bunch of testimonials here for people who've gone through the training and the workshop. And then the Entre Architect Guarantee. Everything that we've ever done, ever, at Entre Architect, if you buy it and you don't like it or it wasn't what you expected, you just email me and I will refund your money, all of it. That's been the guarantee since the day I launched it in 2012. This isn't about me making a whole bunch of money. This is about me providing more value than I possibly can to the profession. And so we've built this course because we think this is really important. We have 2 premium courses at Entre Architect. We have the Profit course, because that's financial management. And then the second premium course that we've developed, this is brand new, Build Your Brand. It's because those 2 things, financial management and building a strong brand, so you can tell the story to attract the clients that you want most. That's how you get the work that you want, right? And then once you get that work, you need to figure out what to do with that money, right, to make sure that you can be profitable. So we have a Profit course. And so these 2 courses, that Profit course will be available again later in the year. But Build Your Brand course is only going to be available until, I think, January 4th or something like that. Mm-hmm. After January 4th, it goes away. Yeah. And so there's a timeline on it. The reason we do that is because we want you to take it, right? We want you to go through it. So if you don't get it by the 4th, you can't get it. And if you get it before the 29th, you can save $100 on it. So jump on it right now and go buy entrearchitect.com/brand course and get the Build Your Brand course.
One question that people will ask me a lot is about books that architects should read. And I've got a whole list. I publish it every once in a while. I've got a whole list of recommended readings, but several of the books in my list are there because they're not only a book to read, but they have, let's say they're a sort of workbook. And like, what's Building a Story Brand is one of them. Book Yourself Solid is one of them. And one of the reasons they're good books on their own, definitely. But one of the reasons I hold those so high is because I know that if you read the book and you actually do the activity, and that's the key, you do the activity, you do the thinking, the critical thinking, you go through, you fill out the workbook, so to speak, you do that work. And I know that you'll be much further ahead than, number one, if you never read the book, of course, but number two, if you just read the book. And that's really part of the thrust behind the Build Your Brand course. You could just watch all these videos, right? Yeah. If you do the Build Your Brand basics, that's about, I don't know, round numbers, that's about 30 minutes worth of videos between the three of them. It's probably a little bit more than that. If you do the Build Your Brand course, off the top of my head, that's probably about 3 hours, maybe worth of. Well, if you include the bonus tracks, it might be closer to 4 hours worth of videos total by the time you do the 22 videos or whatever it is total. You could certainly just watch all the videos, but if that's your goal, don't do it. Don't do it. If your goal is to propel yourself ahead, if your goal is to build a better firm, watch the videos, do the homework, fill out the workbook, and you know that you're going to be much further ahead than if you didn't, because you're going to watch the videos, you're going to do the critical thinking, you're going to do the work, you're going to put it on paper, hold yourself accountable, get into the Slack group, let others hold you accountable, hold others accountable at the same time. That's the type of work that will help you build a better firm. That's the type of work that'll help you be more successful in 2021 than you were for 2020. My gosh. I mean, I was talking with somebody about this yesterday. What a year, right? I total transparency. This time last year, I was looking at Q1 for 2020 and I went, holy cow, I have a great Q1 lined up for 2020. And if I can string 4 of those together, 2020 will be an amazing year. Guess what happened? 2020 happened, right? And clients started to fall like dominoes. And so a lot of that didn't play itself out the way that I thought it would. So as we look at 2021, how do we change that? How do we build a better 2021 than we had in 2020? And this is one way that you can do it.
Yeah. And I just, while you were talking, I put on some of the testimonials that we've had with people who've been trained. They go through the training, and like I said, these are testimonials from the workshop, but they're talking about the content, and it's the same content. It's transforming how they look at and that's what most of them, if you go to the site and you read their testimonials, much of what they're talking about is that they've transformed the way they think about their own firm. Mm-hmm. Right? They've transformed the way that they think about their firm. And so then they can start to communicate that to clients in a more clear, concise way and start building out your assets, your website and your marketing materials and the story that you tell. So you attract the clients that you want, right? If you want high-end modern residential architecture and you're not telling that story, you're not going to attract those clients, right? You're going to get the clients that you are telling the story to. And so going through this training and doing the work, like Jeff said, that's the key, is do the work. You can find lots of information. If you want to watch videos, go on YouTube and search telling your brand story, and you can have, pretty much endless content on telling your story, which is very much the same content that we're teaching, right? But we're teaching it directly to architects, and we're teaching it with a process to actually get the work done. So there's homework and tasks and accountability built in. And you can do it in 30 days. If you want to do it in 30 days, you can do it in 30 days. And in 1 month, there's even a calendar that shows you how that works. In 1 month, you potentially could have this done and have your branding system all ready to go in 30 days. So in 30 days, you can do a lesson a day. Right? You could start on the first with the introduction video, the welcome video, then do the work. And that's just the weekdays. Weekends, you can just sort of, absorb what you've learned. So if you work every week or every day of the week, you could have it done by the 31st. That's with the bonuses. You can get the whole thing done, and including the review sessions, because there are review videos. So the way it works is that Jeff has created 16 lessons plus 4 reviews plus the welcome video, and then 2 bonuses, right? And so that's 20 videos plus 2 bonus videos, and some of these are 2 parts, right? So there's part 1 and part 2, 12 steps, 12 steps and 20 videos, and you can learn the whole system and execute it, right? Because when you finish the workbook becomes your brand manual. It becomes your branding system for your architecture firm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, like you said, a lot of the folks, a lot of the firms that went through the Build Your Brand workshop talked about transforming the way that they think about their firm. And you'll notice, if you go through the brand basics, the 3 free videos, you'll notice right away, and we've talked about that quite a bit actually today, that especially in training video number 1, it's going to be about a mindset shift.
Yeah.
And so a good portion of the Build Your Brand basics and the Build Your Brand workshop or a course will certainly be about a mindset shift, like as Mark described. And that might be difficult, right? That's going to make you work. But it's imperative, and being able to shift that and then also communicate that, like Mark said. Now, one problem I see, again, I referenced Building a Story Brand and Book Yourself Solid earlier, because those are a couple of books that are great books, and they have workbook components that go with it. And if you do the work, you're going to move yourself ahead just by reading it and doing the work. One of the problems is sometimes that, you go through all this and you're wondering, am I doing this right? This is new territory for us. I don't know if I really get it or not. I'm just watching videos. That's where those bonus videos come in you don't have to wait till the end to watch them, but I actually walk through the process, the same process that you go through in the videos. I walk through using myself as an example. So I go through ideal client, what's at stake, all of those steps that you go through. I go through those in the 2 bonus videos. So you can actually see someone else, an example of someone else going through the process, working through the framework in those 2 bonus videos. And Mark mentioned the second of the bonus videos is about the website wireframe. When we developed the Build Your Brand workshop and then by extension the Build Your Brand course, we sat down and we went, what's kind of worst case scenario? What's the hardest thing for anybody, not just architects, but any brand, any company? What's the hardest thing to put together and to think through? And we said, what, in terms of marketing collateral, branding collateral, our presence in the world, the website is the most complex collateral that's out there.
Right.
So that's why we incorporated, in a lot of the lessons I'll talk about your website wireframe. The reason that that I do that is because we talked about that website wireframe as being the most complex marketing and branding collateral that you need to create. So we based it on that. And you may say, you know what, I just redid my website. That's fine. You can leave it the way it is if you want. That's no problem at all. The good news is, if you work through all of this and even head towards creating this website wireframe, everything is related to that. Emails, email signatures, email campaigns, social media, proposals. And one of those, I was reading the testimonials as you had them up there. One of those testimonials talks about the fact that now they understand how to apply this not only to their website, but also in emails, proposals, and presentations and things like that. So, so it doesn't matter whether or not you've been thinking, hey, I need to redo my website. If you simply need to know how to write better emails, whether it's a campaign or an email to a client or a better proposal, this will help. This will keep all of those things on brand. It'll change your mindset and how you present those proposals, those emails, and the like. So all of your communications, basically.
Yeah, you talk about that quote of Jeff Bezos all the time about your brand is the story your clients tell when you're not in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So everything you do, your website, your proposals, your emails, your marketing materials, the story you tell when a client asks you, hey, what do you do? Your answer to that's all part of your brand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That because they have a story in their mind of who you are already. And most likely that story has been put there by HGTV.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And so you have to tell a different story, the right story. And by developing a consistent story, something that gets documented in a brand manual, you say, okay, this is the story we're going to tell. This is who we are. And this is the story we're going to tell. And so when I build my website, this is the story we're going to tell. When we do our marketing material, this is the story we're going to tell. When I interview with a client, this is the story we're going to tell. This is the story that my employees learn. And this is the story that my employees tell people when they ask them, hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm an architect. I work for XYZ Architect. And this is the story we tell, right? And it's the same story. And eventually that story becomes the brand, because that becomes the story that's in the mind of the market that you're attracting, right? And when that ideal client shows up on your site that you've built around this story, and it's the story they've been looking for, and it starts to resonate and they feel emotional connection with what you're saying on that site because they're seeing what they want to see, right? You're in, right? Ideal client, sign them up.
Yep. Right? Yeah. I mean, that ties all the way back to what we were talking about in the beginning of the conversation this morning about, creating the 5 to 15 short posts.
Right.
And if anybody, every once in a while, I'll repeat that quote from Jeff Bezos. Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And somebody will say, well, Jeff Bezos, I don't like Jeff Bezos, whatever. That's fine. How about Marty Neumeier? He's one of the godfathers, so to speak, of branding. You probably don't know who he is if you're not a brand wonk, but he has a quote that's very, very similar to the Bezos quote. That's the truth. It's one of the fundamental truths of branding and marketing. And it also presents a little bit of a problem, right? You think, well, if my brand is what my clients, my past clients, my prospective clients, is what the public says about me when I'm not in the room, then how do I build a brand? And Mark said a minute ago, a lot of times it's built by HGTV, right?
Yeah.
The story that you're telling, your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. So the question is, what story are you going to hand them? How are you going to prepare them to tell the story? How are you going to give them the storyline? Now, this is getting a little bit in the weeds, but when I do full branding talks, I'll talk about this triangle. Your business is a triangle. It's the perfect analogy for architects. Your business is a triangle. On one side of that triangle is marketing and business development. Do it, don't do it. It's still there. It's still a part of your firm, whether you like it or not. On another side of that triangle is employee experience, employer brand. And then on a third side of that triangle is client experience. It's your operations. And when we think about your brand sits in the middle of that triangle, right? Everybody's telling a story. When you go out, when you post something on social media, when you submit a response to an RFP or an RFQ, when you go out to a networking event and you talk to a prospective client or somebody like that, your brand is there. It's a story that's being told on that side of the triangle. Your employees, if you have them, they're telling a story, right? They're telling a story about what it's like to work there. They're telling a story of how they work with clients. They're telling a story. So your brand is present on that side of the triangle. And then on the third side of the triangle, when we talk about client experience, the experience that your clients have working with you and the operations of your firm, your brand is present on that side of the triangle as well. And so sometimes what happens is I'll start talking about the importance of brand, the most important things in your firm. And somebody will say, well, wait a minute. Our culture, that's on the employee experience side, our culture is the most important thing. And because it's kind of fun to be a little bit controversial, I'll say, no, it's not. It can't be. Because if we use the analogy of a triangle, we know that if you put one side of the triangle above anything else, or you make it more important than anything else, or you try to remove it and you say, this is the only thing, our culture is the only thing, it's not a triangle anymore. If you take the point of view of a structural triangle, architects and engineers, what happens when one side of that triangle is significantly stronger or weaker than any other side of the triangle? Right? I had a professor that pro practice professor that used to say, how did it start? Buildings fall, people die. When one side of that triangle is significantly stronger or weaker than any of the others, it collapses. Right? It can't exist anymore. It ceases to exist as a triangle. So that brand is there in the middle. And that story that people are telling, no matter where they encounter your firm, on which side of that triangle they encounter your firm, whether it's on a marketing and business development side, or it's on an employee side, or it's a client side, they're always encountering your brand. And you have the ability to give them the story that they'll repeat. And that's the importance of your brand right there. It's in the middle of that triangle and forming all of those.
And that brings us right back to what we were talking about with Chris, about the story that we each individually architects, right? Right back to the story, the conversation about the AI and how we're going to redefine the brand of architect. Architect, the brand is out there. There's a story that the world thinks that we are and who we are and what we do. And our individual responsibility, it's our responsibility as individual architects, our story, to tell the story of what we do as individual architects. That collective story of architect. The AIA is not going to tell that story. HGTV should not be telling. We should be telling that story. And the only way we can do that is to understand this and then be able to effectively communicate what that story is. Each single one of us, hundreds of thousands of every one of us, be telling the story of what architects are, what we do, and how we do it. And that's branding. That's really, we should all have our own brand. That in the brand of each architect becomes the cumulative brand of our profession.
Yeah, and that's really it. And really, it doesn't matter what you think about what Mark just said. It doesn't matter what you think about AIA. It doesn't matter what you think about what's wrong with the profession. Again, the fundamental truth is, it is the story that's being told right now, whether it's HGTV or you or AIA or your competitors or whoever's telling the story, whoever is feeding that story that builds the brand of the architect, the brand of the architect right now. And some of you say, you know, we're being commoditized, and you are. Some of you are saying, you know, we're misunderstood, and you are. That is what it is, right? That is the story that's being told by the people when you're not in the room. So the only way to change that is to change the story, is to build a brand, the brand of the architect. And of course, you want to build your own brand. That's the only way it's ever going to change. AIA as an entity can't do it. HGTV as an entity can't do it, for better or for worse. You have to do it. It's got to start with you. And it's got to start with you building a brand that your prospective clients see, hear, read, consume wherever they are, and go, now I see the value of an architect. Now I see why I want to hire Chris. Now I value what Chris brings to the table, right? Before I was just looking for somebody to give me a set of blueprints. Now I see what it means for this to be properly detailed, for this to be designed in this way for my specific site, for my specific area, whatever it is that they care about. You're the only one that can change that. You've got to tell the story. You've got to build the brand of the architect. If you think that people don't understand the value of an architect or what architects do, change it.
Yeah,
you've got to change it.
That's and you can see how passionate Jeff and I. We built this course and built the workshop, and we did the podcast because this is important. This is our profession, and the brand is there whether we like it or not, and it's being told by other people. And so we've built the podcast, built the course, we've built the free training because it's important. This is our mission, to help architects build better businesses, to be most so the profession gets better, so the world can benefit from what we do. Right? I say that all the time. That's the process. That's our architect. And so we need to build out the profit course so we understand about money, and we need this in course. Every architect in our profession should learn how to build their brand, whether in this course or whether it's learning some other way, and building the brand, telling the story that resonates with our clients and the world who are looking at us and saying, what do architects do? It's our job to tell them.
Yeah,
I think we should wrap things up. We're coming up on 2 hours here.
we could keep going forever.
Yeah.
This has been a good conversation. Yeah. I really appreciate everybody being here. I see some friends. Rod, saw you there, didn't say hi. Apologize for that, but really appreciate everybody that has joined us on all the platforms. Like we said at the beginning, we've been streaming via LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube today, and appreciate all of you. Chris, appreciate you humoring us and calling in on the call-in number. We'll continue
and sticking with us throughout the whole thing. That's commitment.
That is commitment. That is commitment. we've said this over and over. We've been testing this technology. We are moving towards launching the additional show in January. And this is not necessarily indicative of what that show will be like. We will have a topic, and if you're familiar with context and clarity, that is indicative of what the show will be with more. But we're figuring this out. We're figuring out how we can reach architects where they are and bring that value to architects where they are. And so that's why we're doing it. And we're going to continue to improve this every time we do it. And we'll launch Context and Clarity 2.0 in January. So with that, Mark, thank you.
Yeah. Before we wrap up.
Yeah.
I just want to remind everybody about the holiday party today.
Oh, yeah.
If you're watching this on Friday, December 18th at 3 p.m. Eastern time, we are having a Zoom holiday party. We have over 60 people registered, and we have planned activities. It's going to be fun. If you like context and clarity, we're going to do a little spin on context and clarity because we've sort of preempted context and clarity because we scheduled it from 3 to 5, which is context and clarity spot. So the context and clarity crew need to come to the holiday party. EntreArchitect.com/holiday party to get a ticket to access that video. It's free. We just want to make sure that it's the community showing up and not other people. So EntreArchitect.com/holiday party to grab a free ticket. That'll take you through Eventbrite, but it's going to take you right back to the Zoom meeting at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And so we hope to see you there. It's going to be a fun time for a couple hours.
Yeah. And I don't have a great way to post that. It's EntreArchitect.com/holiday party.
Yeah.
I'll just
EntreArchitect.com/holiday party.
I'll just type this in here real quick, put it on the screen so you can see that.
That's a short link that will take you to the Eventbrite page to grab the ticket.
All right, there you go. Go to EntreArchitect.com/holiday party. Hopefully there are no typos in there, but
that looks right.
But yeah, join us today at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. We're, like Mark said, we've got activities planned, and wear your ugly sweater, dress however you want to dress for the holiday party. We're going to have fun today.
Bring a beverage.
We're going to celebrate as we should. We need to make sure that we celebrate. So we'll see you this afternoon in just a few hours, I guess.
Yeah.
And if we don't see you there, Context and Clarity Live will continue next week. We'll have a short week because of the holiday. I think maybe only 3 days next week. But we'll continue to see you, and hope everybody stays safe and stays well. Keep yourself and those around you well. That's really important right now. And thanks for being part of this community. Thanks for building this community. Really, I mean, it's yes, Mark started this a long time ago, and he and I both facilitate a lot of things. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, we're just facilitating things.
Not about us.
All of you are building this by being a part of it, and by asking your questions and sharing your knowledge and all of those things. So we really do appreciate all of you, each and every one of you, and thanks for hanging with us for 2 hours. This is fun. So thank you all, and we'll sign off and hopefully see you in a few hours.
Yeah. See you.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.